Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief, and joining me today is Juicy. How's it going, Juicy?
Oh, it's going good, man. Just living the dream, as we say, Just having a good time, I guess. What about y'all?
Going pretty good so far. Got a lot of stuff going on, about as much as you can imagine. But, that's enough about me. You ready to talk about some Ragin Cajuns Softball?
Let's dive into it.
All right. Well, this past weekend, the Ragin Cajuns went on the road to take on Ole Miss, UAB, and Oklahoma State. Which, I mean, those are some programs you know the name very well. Like they have been around and stuff like that.
Well, with the exception of UAB.
Well, yeah, but look, the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns took control early, leaving little doubt over an 8-1 win over Ole Miss. Then batted back late for a 7-4 win over UAB on the final day of the Blazer Classic at Mary Bowers Field. The sweep extended the 9th-ranked Ragin Cajuns winning streak to 4 games and improved the squad's mark to 11-3 into showdowns with top 10 foes Texas and Florida this coming up week. 3 doubles in the first inning, the later from Sarah Huddick plating 2 runs staked Louisiana out to a 3-0 lead over Ole Miss. The Ragin Cajuns kept the pressure on in the second inning as Caitlin Aldrich stole home and Hudrick delivered her 3rd RBI to stretch the lead to 5-0. That was ample support for Summer Ellison, who turned in another dominant performance, not allowing a base hit to the Rebels until the 4th inning. She yielded just 1 run and 3 hits over 7 innings, faced just 3 over the minimum, and struck out 5. The tournament finale with the host, the Blazers, UAB Blazers, saw the lead swap hands 3 times for the Ragin Cajuns secured the victory. The team exchanged unearned runs early with UAB picking one up in the first inning and the Ragin Cajuns grabbing a pair in the 3rd inning to take a 2-1 lead. Melissa Mayu doubled to start off the 5th inning and later scored on the RBI single from Aldrich, increasing the Louisiana advantage to 3-1. The Blazers wouldn't go away though, as their first 3 batters in the bottom half of the inning all reached base, setting the stage for 3 runs, which gave the hosts a 4-3 lead. But in the top of the 6th inning, Julie Rawls tripled into the tripled into the right field corner to score Rihanna O'Neal, who led off with a single and evened the score. On the next at-bat, Taylor Roman delivered a pinch hit RBI single to give Louisiana the lead for good. Unick punctuated her solid day at the plate and improved extra run support with a 2-run home run in the 7th inning, which extended the lead to 7-4. Ellison, who relieved Megan Kleist in the 5th inning, retired the Blazers in order to wrap up a 1-hit relief effort that spanned 2 2/3 innings. So the Cajuns were able to win that game there, Juicy. What do you think about their winning streak going up to 4 games, the Ragin Cajuns softball team?
Well, 4-game win streak gets some good opponents. I think it's well deserved, well earned. They proved to me that they've proved to be a legitimate. Seems like they back to where they were a couple years ago when they went on those runs to Oklahoma City and all that. I know it's still early, and 4-game win streak like this early in the season. It means a lot, and it means well, but it is a long season. Teams can go on runs, teams can fall apart, injuries happen. We just never know. But it's a good train to be riding on right now. Let's just say it like
Yeah.
that.
If you look at it here, they got a good couple of matchups. The Ragin Cajuns softball team do. They have to take on Texas in a midweek game, and then they take on Florida this weekend. How do you think they will respond to like these two top 10 teams?
Well, if they, I know their pitching's been pretty outstanding, and I mean, I haven't really got to do a lot of research on Texas and Florida yet, but I know it definitely won't be easy, and I mean, I already know they battle tested with all the wins they have already against quality opponents. I think it's very possible that they could beat both of them. For sure, they'll beat one of them, I think, but I think it's not out the realm of possibility for their win streak to go to 6 games.
Yeah, Texas is number 3 in the country. Florida isn't ranked, but it's a weekend game against a P5 SEC opponent.
Florida's always tough. Don't let them.
Yeah, like sometimes them rankings can be a little bit misleading as well.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting to see how they go against Texas. It's a doubleheader coming up tomorrow on Mardi Gras Day, so it will be an interesting one. You can you can watch it on the Longhorn Network if you have it. But the Cajuns picked up a win against Oklahoma State, beating them 3-2, and they lost 0-1 their first game, but they beat them in the first game Saturday. Then they swept through Ole Miss 5-3, and then 8-1. Then they beat UAB 7-4. So they came out of that weekend with a 4-1 that stretch of games. That's a lot of games to play in a short amount of time.
And they pretty much just walked right through it like it was nothing.
Yeah. So, I know we had talked about this game last week, but they split games against LSU Softball. They won Saturday at 4 p.m. in Lafayette 2-1. Then they went on the road to Baton Rouge and lost 3-4 against the 7th ranked LSU softball team. So that's going to be something to look into and see how it all goes. So
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that.
So how you think they'll do against Texas? You got a win or a loss against number 3 Texas for the Ragin Cajuns softball team, Juicy?
I'm gonna, I want to say they're gonna win, but I feel like they're gonna take a slight step back and lose. But I think it's gonna be close. But then I think they'll bounce back and beat Florida pretty well.
Well, you got them losing both games to Texas because they play
Wait, how many games?
They're playing 2 games on Tuesday, 4:30, one at 4:30 and one at 7 o'clock.
Both of them against Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think they're gonna split it with Texas. I thought they was only playing 1 game.
Oh, my bad. I probably should have clarified that before I asked you that question. Yeah. But anyway, I do think they'll split it as well. Because the way they've been playing, it's going to be a close game, I think, both times. Kind of like a 1-run difference. So I can see that happening there, and it's a midweek game. But if you've noticed, all those times they go to Oklahoma City with them softball teams, they usually have 2 great pitchers. They
just never get very far in Oklahoma City, though.
Yeah, usually those teams that go real deep have 2 really great pitchers, and that's what the Ragin Cajuns got this year. So we'll see what happens there. So what you got them going against Florida this week? How you think they'll do? You think they'll win the series?
Oh, I don't see why they should win it. They might sweep it. Yeah, a lot. That's in the realm of possibility, but for sure I think they'll. I don't see why they can't win 2 out of 3. I'd be shocked, honestly, if they lost that series. Let's just put it like that.
Okay.
Especially with 2 good pitchers, they ought to at least be able to win 2.
I think they'll win this series against Florida this week. I think I can see them going 2-3, like 2 out of 3 against Florida is what I meant. Over there. So yeah, I think they even got a good chance to even sweep this series against Florida. I mean, you seen what they did to Ole Miss this past weekend. So I say ride the Ragin Cajuns softball team this year. I think they got a good chance of doing it this year.
Something to be excited about.
If you're a Ragin Cajuns softball fan. Now we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about LSU softball. They have a couple of wins this past weekend. They've done some really good things this week. Juicy, what's your assessment of the LSU softball team this year?
I have to say their offense, for sure, they got the firepower. I have to say it ain't exactly been the toughest of schedules either, but I think they got two really. I think all three pitchers are good. I know they got two really good pitchers and one great pitcher. They had a pitcher that just pitched the first ever perfect game in LSU softball history. I forgot her name.
Gorsuch?
Yeah, Gorsuch. She's the first ever perfect game in LSU softball history. So I have to say right now I think they've exceeded expectations a little bit. I think they weren't supposed to be so good this year, but so far they've been proven, at least me, wrong. I thought they would not be quite as hot this year, but they've started off on a hot note so far.
Yeah, they're 13-1 so far this year. They're on a 7-game winning streak that dates back. Their last loss was to the Ragin Cajuns. Since then, they've beaten North Dakota, and then they've beaten the Ragin Cajuns on that same day, on that Sunday at 3 o'clock, and then they win 11-0 over Louisiana Tech. Then they beat Belmont, Sam Houston State twice, Friday and that Saturday, and they beat Belmont again on that Saturday game. So,
like I said, they've been the toughest of schedules, but they have a few quality wins.
Loyola Marymount is who they're going to play against in Fullerton, California, Anderson Family Field. Then on Thursday they play Texas Tech, and this weekend they got Cal on Friday, Washington on Friday as well at 1:15, and Colorado State at 12 o'clock Saturday. So I know talking about this is a very interesting thing. So how you think they'll do this weekend, Juicy? You think they'll continue their winning ways and win these next couple?
You said they got Loyola Mount and who else?
Texas Tech. Thursday is the Judy Garman Classic.
Oh, I don't believe they have any issues with Texas Tech, honestly. I mean, with the pitching they have, they can shut anybody down in the country, and and Loyola, I don't think it would really be an issue. That's another one I'd be shocked if they dropped any of those games.
Okay. So you think they'll win that whole entire classic?
How many games they play in that classic, too?
They play, let's see, that would be 5 games in that classic.
They should be able to win 3, 4 of them. They might win all 5 of them, you just never know.
Yeah, I think they'll win 4 out of the 5. It's really hard to win.
Because I always say they're going to slip up at least once.
Yeah, like
once. Sure.
In a 5-game stretch, you can almost expect.
That's a lot of games in a certain amount of stretch.
Yeah. It's hard to go undefeated in those classics in a game like softball or baseball, because if you can get hot in one of those sports, it can carry you a long, long way.
Yep.
That's just how the game is. So yeah, I think they'll lose at least one of those games. Kind of hard to pick which one you think it would actually be, but I think it might be Washington. I could see them slipping up against Washington.
Washington's usually got a pretty good softball.
Yeah, they usually do have a pretty good softball team, so I could see them losing to Washington. So that's who. If I had to pick anybody out of that group to beat them, I'd say Washington would be the group, that team there to beat them.
Yeah, Cal can be good sometimes too, but I think Washington's more premier.
Yeah,
probably got better talent.
All right, switching gears, we're gonna talk about some baseball. It's baseball time. So, this season hasn't really gone the way that the Ragin Cajun baseball team would have liked it to have gone so far. They're 2 and.
Oh, I didn't even know they were playing baseball yet.
They're 2-6, and they lost their last 2 games. They played their last weekend was against Virginia Tech. They won the Friday night game, and I was like, they might be trying to turn the corner here. Then they ended up losing the last 2 games, 2-3, and got shut out yesterday, 0-3, which was a game I was at, and they just couldn't hit the ball. And this has kind of been a reoccurring theme this whole entire
no offense this year.
Yeah, the only time they've had offense is the midweek games, but when it's come to a weekend series, the most runs they have scored in a weekend series is 2 runs, and that's not going to win you a lot of baseball games. Whereas on the midweek, they've scored 9 against Southeastern, and then on the last Wednesday, they lost to Tulane, but at least they scored 6 runs.
But midweek games aren't going to get you very far.
Yeah, you got to win your weekend series.
The weekends where it really counts.
Now, I think it's too early to hit the panic button, though. We're only 8 games into the season. So, I mean, you got a good chance this week to make up with it. You got Northwestern State coming to town. Then you got a weekend series against Sam Houston State, and then you're go on the road to take on Rice next Tuesday. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. So, Juicy, what do you think the Cajuns could do to kind of rectify what has happened up to this point?
Learn how to make contact with the ball on the bat, and learn how to squeeze the ball in the gaps and between the defenders, and get some runs across the plate.
Anything. There was a game. Was it Saturday's game? I think it was.
Pretty good. Usually they've kept teams pretty close. I can't really complain about the pitching, but their pitchers give them a chance. But the hitting is, let's just face it, it's pretty god awful right now. The offense.
Yeah. What game was it? I think it was Saturday's game. The Cajuns had a tying run on third, and they had no outs. And Deggs, you would have thought the sack bunt. There are some people saying that if Robichaux was coaching this game, they would have at least tied it. They may not have won the game, but they would have at least tied it and brought it to
2 chances to sack bunt at least.
Yeah, they had at least 2 chances. Because you would have had 2 outs. Then at that, if the second one, they would have 2 outs at that point. And if they would have hit, if you strike out but I've noticed there's been a lot of strikeouts this year.
A sack fly could have got them home. Anything.
Yeah, but they just couldn't make contact. There's been a lot of strikeouts with the hitters this year compared to other years. I would have to look up the stats and see how well they're doing. I want to graph how many strikeouts they've had on their side through 8 games so far. So it's kind of worrying a little bit, but I think this year it's really a transition year. Because this is an emotional season. You've lost your head coach that's been a Ragin Cajun, your head baseball coach for over 20 years. That's not something that I don't think a change can happen overnight. Now, this is the same team last year. They didn't make it to a regional at all, so they didn't even qualify for the tournament. So, if you're looking at last year's record in 2019, the Ragin Cajuns ended up finishing the 2019 season not really that good too much. They finished 28-31. They only won 47% of their games. 0.5, you want to get real down to it. And last year, if you want to look back at their 8 games last year, they were 1-8 last year. They won their next series, though, against Maryland. So, if you're looking at that, there's a lot of similarities between last year and this year up to this point. They did go 500 in conference, though.
Did they make the Sun Belt tournament?
Yeah, they did. They did, in fact, make the Sun Belt tournament, and they went 1-2 and got knocked out by Troy last year. But then again, I mean, you have to kind of wonder what's going to happen about all that. So, I mean, expecting a huge difference this year compared to last year, I think Deggs is off the hook, though, for this year. He just got here. You ain't going to fire your head coach 8 games in the season in baseball.
No, and obviously, I always say somebody deserves at least 3 years, kind of jumping the gun. But, I mean, it is pretty, it's just not seeing runs scored. It's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, it's something that needs to be looked at, but I mean, you got to remember, Deggs was the hitting coach of the 2014 Ragin Cajun team that was actually ranked number 1 in the country, and a lot of people wanted him over here. I think they made the right choice, though. I think there was nobody else you could put in that spot other than Deggs, Coach Deggs, for the Ragin Cajuns, because it would have been just a bad situation altogether.
But that don't mean he's gonna work out, though.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're better at being a coordinator, but under Sam Houston State, he's brought them to super regionals, and he's had history as a head coach that he's done very well at Sam Houston. So we know he can get the job done as a head coach. This ain't like a brand new head coach deal. All right. Now we're going to switch gears. Let's talk about some LSU baseball here. The LSU baseball team is doing pretty good this year. Not much has really been said too much about them too much. They've been kind of under the radar, in my opinion. They're 5-3 so far this year.
That's where they need to be, under the radar.
Yeah. They lost their last weekend. They played Eastern Kentucky. They lost their first game, and they won their Saturday and Sunday games, and they're playing Louisiana Tech on Wednesday, and they play Texas, Baylor, and Oklahoma.
Good weekend.
And the Shiners Hospital for Children's College Classic. So, Juicy, what's your overall impression? Yeah, what's your overall impression with the LSU baseball team so far this year?
Well, I have mixed emotions about the LSU team so far, honestly. I mean, people can say, you hear people say, they lost to Nichols, and they dropped the game to Eastern Kentucky, and but I mean, it's like I say, I really don't put much weight in the midweek games. I mean, when the AP rankings come out, nobody really pays attention to midweek games that much. It's all about how well you perform on the weekend. Midweek games just like tune-up games and kind of some loosen up games. And I thought they would squeeze Eastern Kentucky. I ain't gonna lie, that one kind of. But if they'd have lost that series, I'd have been like even more iffy about them. But I guess right now they're right where they need to be, if you ask me. I mean, the pitching ain't been quite up to par. Landon Monso's pitching pretty well. The offense, I mean, I guess they need to improve for sure on the pitching still needs some room for improvement, though. I think Cole Henry's off to a slow start compared to how he was last year. But it's kind of hard to say right now with LSU because you never know what you're going to get. It's honestly, I'm kind of mixed about them. There's been some craziness kind of going on with LSU. They've had the recent years with LSU, they've lost in midweek games, and I think that's kind of been a kind of thing for them. But then once they get towards the end of the season, they get really hot and they end up going to Omaha. They always do well in the SEC tournament, and they at least get to super regionals pretty much.
They've actually figured this stuff out. Okay, they figured it out. how to get hot at the right time. Let's just say it like that. They've actually figured that out.
Under since Palmineri's been at LSU, nobody's had. Palmineri's has more wins in the SEC tournament than any other SEC coach during his tenure.
Yeah.
Since he's been at LSU, so they always know how to turn it on when it's time to turn it on.
Yeah.
They always have a reputation for playing pretty well in Hoover at the end of the year.
All right. Well, let's see. Keeping it with baseball, the Houston Astros, they have a lot going on right now.
They've been under a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah. There's some people that's been calling for a stripping of their title. Do you think that should be allowed, Juicy?
Well, honestly, you can't take it away from them. To me, I mean, technically you can't because they already played it and they won it to me. But I think that year is going to be tainted for sure. Definitely, it's going to be kind of tainted. The view of that World Series championship is going to be. I mean, people aren't going to look at it the same. Yeah, you won it, but you cheated. But you definitely potentially cost other teams a chance to be honest and win the trophy. But I think they did the right thing by not awarding any other team with it. But I don't think they should get it taken away. But I think they should be made an example out of what not to do.
Okay, so for people not knowing of the situation, Juicy, can you tell them what happened with the Houston Astros? That if someone comes by with this, like, what did they get caught with, or what?
Okay, so back in what year was it? 2018?
I think it was 17
or 2017. In 2017 or 2018, but I think it was 2017. So the Astros were come to find out. I don't even know how did they find out about this exactly, or who caught wind of it and found out?
So I know there was some sign stealing. There was something going.
Yeah, they were accused of sign stealing. They had like this camera in the outfield or somewhere in Minute Maid Park where they would watch the signals of like the catcher to be able to try and guess what pitch is coming, and they would telephone it or whatever to the dugout, to the Astros dugout. I don't know exactly how that got from outfield to dugout and then dugout to hitter. I don't know how it all worked out, but apparently they could figure out what pitch is coming to the plate next. So
they stole signs of opposed team using technology during the 2017 and 2018 seasons. So details of the team's activity are first reported by journalist Ken Rosenthal and Evan.
Ken Rosenthal.
Yeah. And for the Atlantic in November 2019. Mike Fears, who was a pitcher who played for the Astros in 2017, told The Athletic that the organization used a video camera in center field to film opposing catchers' signs to the pitchers. Astros players or team staffers watched the live camera feed behind the dugout, would then signal to their batter what kind of pitch was coming. MLB opened an investigation into allegations, and in January 2020 confirmed that the Astros illegally used a camera system to steal signs during the 2017 regular season and postseason, during which they won the World Series, as well as in part of the 2018 season. MLB found no evidence of illicit sign stealing in the 2019 season, in which the Astros advanced to and lost the World Series. So, as a result, Astros general manager Jeff Lunhow and field manager A.J. Hinch were suspended for the entire 2020 season for failing to prevent the rules violations. The Astros were fined the maximum allowed $5 million and forfeited their first and second round picks in the 2020 and 2021 drafts. No, players were punished because they had been given immunity by MLB in exchange for their cooperation. So,
What's your thought?
I think they've. I don't. I feel like they went. I feel like the players should have gotten something for it too. If you knew something was going on that it was illegal, you probably should admit to it and probably talk about it. You know.
The Astros were already good,
but they were like the MLB. The MLB gave them immunity for their cooperation. But I feel like maybe they didn't know enough about it. That might have been why. I feel like the players should be disciplined because, I mean, you got a general manager and a field manager that got suspended for the entire 2020 season. But the players were the ones that actually had to know what kind of pitch was coming, and they had all that information communicated to them. So, yeah, that's I think the players should be held just as accountable as the general manager and the field manager.
Yeah, but how do you know which players, though? I think they have to start trying to figure out.
Well, they know that what players were coming forward for their cooperation. But
I know, like, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman done came clean about it and apologized.
Yeah, but, I mean, they knew what was going on, though. That's the whole thing. And I think as a league, they could have handled it better. But it's just kind of rough. It's a rough situation all around. I think everybody should.
They banned Pete Rose for alleged betting. Nobody ever had proof that he actually even betted.
Yeah.
But they had solid proof that the Astros bet.
Yeah, they cheat. Yeah.
But to me, they ought to reinstate Pete Rose because that was just for alleged. Nobody even had actual solid proof that he ever done anything.
Yeah. Well, we've been keeping up with LSU basketball and Ragin Cajun basketball and the women's basketball for LSU and Ragin Cajun, but that's way too much to cover in one episode. Since baseball season's getting started, we've kind of covered more baseball this episode, so yeah, because there's a lot more to talk about. But the Ragin Cajun men's basketball team hasn't been looking too good lately. But the women's I'm trying to summarize what's going on with all the teams. Okay, so Ragin Cajun women's basketball team, they're right now in 5th in the Sun Belt Conference standings. The Ragin Cajun men's basketball team are trying to get into the tournament. Juicy. So I know you're our LSU sports insider. So you tell us what's going on about the LSU basketball team and LSU women's basketball team.
The men's basketball team, I don't know what happened they had lost 4 out of 5, then they won against South Carolina, much needed win. They still lost 4 out of 6 after winning their first 8 games in the SEC tournament play. I mean, not the tournament, the SEC play. And they, I don't know, just they lost. It started with I think that Vanderbilt loss really affected them because Vanderbilt hadn't won a SEC game before they beat LSU since 2018. They hadn't won an SEC game, and then LSU goes there and loses. Vanderbilt, I know, attempted the second most 3-pointers in the SEC as a team, and they just happened to land on that night. And then the ball started rolling, and they went and lost to Auburn in overtime, and at one point they almost let Kentucky get away from them, and they just been sloppy ball play, just been turning the ball over and penalties, people just fouling out. It's just, I feel like they're just trying too hard, honestly, if you ask me right now. They just need to get back to the basics, which they did against South Carolina, but they still got 5 games left. If they can win 4 out of the next 5, I think they'll be all right. Kind of be back on the right track. Even if they win 3 out of the next 5, I think it'd be good enough to probably get an NCAA tournament bid.
Yeah.
SEC tournament games and get them at least in the big dance.
Yeah, a lot going on in sports. We'll keep you all updated on our Facebook page, the Fishbowl Radio. You can listen to our podcasts on YouTube, and you can listen to us on Spotify, SoundCloud, and on Spreaker.com, which we're broadcasting off of that website right now. So, thank you, Juicy, for tuning in with me today and doing the show with me today. I have greatly missed you on the show. So I think we're going to tell y'all goodbye for tonight. Thank y'all for tuning in to the Fishbowl Radio. If you want to have more information, we post regularly to our Facebook page, so you can follow there and be really good. So thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a great and wonderful night.
Go Tigers!